Hey, quick question. What does 0 to the power of 0 equal? Open Google right now and type 0 to the power of 0 into the search bar. Google answers instantly. The result is 1. Now open Excel. Type an equals sign, 0, the caret symbol, 0. Excel refuses. It gives you an error, not a number. Put two calculators side by side. Both Casio, both perfectly normal, both built to do the exact same math. Ask one of them what 0 to the power of 0 is, and it says 1. Ask the other, and it says math error. That should stop you for a second. These are not opinions. These are machines built by engineers who tested their code against real mathematics, and they do not agree. Back in school, a lot of us saw a teacher write a formula on the board. Any number to the power of 0 equals 1. We were told to memorize it. If you raised your hand and asked why, the answer was usually something like, "That is just the rule. Remember it for the test." You were allowed to feel unsatisfied with that answer. You still are. So if the smartest software on the planet cannot agree on one simple expression, this is not a trivial fact you forgot to memorize. This is a cold case. It has been open for more than 200 years, and by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why both machines are, in a strange way, correct. Let's go back to the definition you actually learned first, long before anyone mentioned 0 to the 0. 2 to the third power means you multiply 2 by itself 3 times. 2 times 2 times 2. That gives you 8. 2 to the first power means you write 2, just once. No multiplying needed. The answer is 2. Now try 2 to the power of 0 using that same idea. You are supposed to multiply 2 by itself 0 times. Picture an empty box. You reach in to grab the 2's you are supposed to multiply together, and there is nothing there. 0 copies of 2. How do you multiply nothing at all? If that sounds impossible, it is because it actually is impossible, using this definition. You cannot multiply 0 times. There is no operation happening. The whole idea of the exponent as a counter, counting how many times to multiply, quietly breaks the moment the counter hits 0. If you ever felt like the phrase multiply a number by itself 0 times made no sense, you were right. That childhood definition abandons you exactly at that point. It was never built to handle 0 in the first place. So the mathematicians of the past could not save this idea by tweaking the multiplication story. They needed something stronger, a rule so powerful it would force a value for 2 to the 0, whether the multiplication story could explain it or not. So the multiplication story fails you. But there is a second, more powerful way to find the value of 2 to the 0. Watch the pattern. Start with 2 to the third, that is 8. 2 to the second is 4. Notice something. 4 is 8 divided by 2. 2 to the first is 2, and 2 is 4 divided by 2. Follow that same pattern one more step. 2 to the 0 should be 2 divided by 2. That gives you 1. Try it again with a completely different number, just to make sure this is not a coincidence. 10 squared is 100. 10 to the first is 10, which is 100 divided by 10. Follow the pattern down one more step, and 10 to the 0 is 10 divided by 10. That is 1 again. Two different numbers, 2 and 10. Same pattern, same answer. 1. There is a second reason, and it comes from a rule you probably memorized without ever asking where it came from. When you multiply two powers of the same number, you add the exponents. 2 to the third times 2 to the 0 equals 2 to the third plus 0, which is just 2 to the third again. Put in the actual numbers. 2 to the third is 8, so 8 times 2 to the 0 has to equal 8. Now ask yourself a simple question. What number can you multiply by 8 and still get 8 back? Not 9, not 0. Only one number does that, 1. So 2 to the 0 is forced to equal 1. Not because a teacher said so, because if it were anything else, the multiplication rule you already trust would break. Mathematicians call the number 1 the multiplicative identity, because it is the one number that leaves everything unchanged when you multiply by it. 2 to the 0 has to equal 1 just to protect that identity. Now here is the moment this whole video is really about. Take those exact same two arguments, the dividing pattern and the multiplication rule, and point them at 0 instead of 2. The dividing pattern. 0 to the third is 0. 0 to the second is 0. 0 to the first is 0. Follow the pattern down one more step, and 0 to the 0 should be 0 divided by 0. Stop right there. 0 divided by 0 is not a number. Division by 0 is not allowed, ever, in any part of mathematics. The pattern that worked perfectly for 2 and for 10 just walked straight off a cliff. Now the multiplication rule. 0 to the third times 0 to the 0 equals 0 to the third, which is 0. So 0 times 0 to the 0 equals 0. Ask the same question as before. What number can you multiply by 0 and still get 0 back? This time the answer is not one number. It is every number. 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 99 is 0. The equation is true no matter what you put in for 0 to the 0. With base 2, algebra had exactly one possible answer, and it locked in. With base 0, algebra suddenly has no way to choose. Every path that gave a clean, forced answer for a normal number gives either nonsense or an open question the moment you swap in 0. This off was not settled quietly in a classroom. It played out as an actual dispute between some of the biggest names in the history of mathematics. In 1770, Leonhard Euler published a textbook called Vollständige Anleitung zur Algebra, a complete guide to algebra. In it, Euler stated plainly that 0 to the 0 equals 1, because the rule that any number to the power of 0 equals 1 should hold everywhere, without exception. 50 years later, a different kind of mathematician pushed back. Augustin-Louis Cauchy is often called the father of rigorous calculus, the person who forced mathematics to define its limits with real precision instead of intuition. In his 1821 book, Cours d'analyse, Cauchy placed 0 to the 0 on a list of what he called indeterminate forms. That list also included 0 divided by 0. In Cauchy's world, these expressions did not have one fixed answer. They depended on how you approached them. The fight kept going. In 1830, an Italian mathematician named Guglielmo Libri published a paper arguing that 0 to the 0 should equal 1. August Mobius, who had studied under the mathematician Johann Pfaff, stepped in to support him. Mobius showed that as a positive number x shrinks toward 0, the expression x to the power of x approaches 1. Then an anonymous critic, known in the historical record only by the initial S, challenged Mobius's proof with a counterexample, a different path toward 0 that landed on a completely different number. The debate ended without a clean winner on either side. Historians looking back at all of this today usually frame it differently than you might expect. They do not say Euler won or Cauchy lost. They say this argument was the moment mathematics discovered that truth here depends on which lens you are looking through, the fixed structure of algebra, or the moving world of limits. So why would Cauchy, a mathematician obsessed with precision, dig in against a rule that looked so clean? To understand that, you have to step into his world, the world of things that are always moving. To understand Cauchy's objection, picture a landscape. Not a graph on paper, an actual landscape, hills and dips you could walk across. At every point on this landscape, your height above the ground is determined by one formula. Your east-west position is x, your north-south position is y, and your height is x to the power of y. You want to walk toward one specific spot on this landscape, the origin, where x is 0 and y is 0. The ground around that spot behaves strangely, and you want to find out what height you land at when you finally arrive. Take the first path. Walk in along a road where y stays fixed at 0 the whole time, and only x shrinks down toward 0. Along this road, your height is always x to the power of 0. Any positive number to the power of 0 is 1, so this road is perfectly flat, at height 1, the entire way. You arrive at the origin standing at height 1. Now take a different path. This time x stays fixed at 0, and y shrinks toward 0 instead. Your height is now 0 to the power of y. 0 raised to any positive power is 0, so this path runs through a trench at height 0 the whole way. You arrive at the origin standing at height 0. Same destination. 2 different roads. 2 different heights, 1 and 0. If you want a third option, there is a curved path where both x and y shrink toward 0 together, but at rates chosen so that your height settles at neither 1 nor 0, but at about 0.367, a number hanging in between. This is why Cauchy refused to write down a single answer. He could point at 3 different ways of arriving at the same point on the map and get 3 different heights. Think of 0 to the 0 as a tug of war. The base, 0, is pulling the result down toward 0, because 0 raised to almost any power is 0. The exponent, 0, is pulling the result up toward 1, because almost any number raised to 0 is 1. Both sides are racing toward the same rope marker at the same time. Whoever gets there first wins the pull. If the base collapses to 0 first, the answer drops to 0. If the exponent collapses to 0 first, the answer holds at 1. There is no fixed winner. It depends entirely on who is faster. Cauchy's world is not wrong. It is just a world built out of motion, where the answer to 0 to the 0 depends on the road you took to get there. And in that world, refusing to commit to one answer is not indecision. It is honesty. Now step into Euler's world, the world of algebra, and watch why mathematicians there refuse to budge. There is a formula called the binomial theorem. It tells you how to expand an expression like x plus y raised to a power into a sum of separate terms. It shows up everywhere in algebra, probability, and beyond, so mathematicians need it to hold up in every single case, with no exceptions. Try the simplest version, where the power is just 1. The formula expands x plus y to the first power into 2 terms. The first term is x to the 0 times y to the first. The second term is x to the first times y to the 0. Now plug in real numbers. Let x equal 0 and let y equal 5. The left side of the formula is simple. 0 plus 5, raised to the first power, is just 5. The right side is where it gets interesting. The first term is 0 to the 0, times 5. The second term is 0 to the first, times 5 to the 0. 0 to the first is 0, so that whole second term vanishes. What is left on the right side is just 0 to the 0 times 5. So the equation says 5 equals 5 times 0 to the 0. Ask yourself, what value of 0 to the 0 makes that true? Only one number works, 1. If 0 to the 0 were anything else, this equation, and every version of the binomial theorem built on it, would simply be false. There is a second place where the exact same demand shows up. The number e, one of the most important constants in mathematics, can be written as an infinite sum. E to the power of x equals 1, plus x squared over 2, plus x cubed over 6, and so on forever, each term dividing by a larger factorial. Set x equal to 0. We already know e to the power of 0 equals 1. Look at what each term in that sum becomes when x is 0. Every term except the very first one contains a positive power of 0, so every one of those terms is 0. The entire sum collapses down to just the first term, which is 0 to the power of 0, divided by 1. So the sum says 1 equals 0 to the 0. Once again, algebra corners you into the exact same answer. The computer scientist Donald Knuth addressed this exact question directly In his 1989 book Concrete Mathematics, written with Ronald Graham and Orrin Potashnik, he did not hedge. He wrote that anyone who wants the binomial theorem to keep working is to accept that 0 to the 0 equals 1. His actual words were even more forceful than that. No, no. 10,000 times no. To keep this section intuitive, a few technical details about limits in more than one dimension got left out. But the core logic survives all of that. Algebra needs a fixed, static answer to stay consistent. Calculus needs the freedom to describe motion and change. Those are two different jobs, and they were never going to agree. So who actually wins? Is Google right, or is Excel right? Was Euler right, or was Cauchy right? Here is the answer, and it is more satisfying than picking a side. They are both right, because they are answering two different questions. In the world of algebra and combinatorics, the fixed structural side of mathematics, 0 to the 0 has to equal 1. Not as a convenience, as a requirement. Break that rule, and the binomial theorem breaks with it, along with a huge amount of math built on top of it. That is exactly why Google, and most programming languages, return 1 the instant you ask. In the world of calculus and limits, the moving continuous side of mathematics, 0 to the 0 is genuinely indeterminate. Different paths toward the same point give different answers, 1, 0, or anything in between. That is exactly why Excel and some calculators refuse to answer. They are not broken. They are protecting you from assuming a limit behaves one way when it might not. Here is the real shift in how to see this. Mathematics is not a set of laws carved into stone by some distant authority. Mathematics is a language built by people to describe the world around them. And like any language, a single word can carry different meanings depending on where you use it. The word run means something different on a running track than it does inside a line of computer code. Nobody finds that confusing or broken. It is just context. 0 to the 0 works the same way. It adapts to serve whichever branch of mathematics is asking the question. That is not a flaw in the system. That is the system working exactly as a language should. If you have ever felt like math was a pile of arbitrary rules someone expected you to memorize, this is worth sitting with for a second. The rule was never arbitrary. You just were not shown the two different rooms it lives in. If you want more stories like this, one about how mathematics actually thinks, and not just what it wants you to memorize, stay around. New videos come out regularly here on Axiom Code. And here is a question for you. Which side do you land on? Team Euler, with the fixed certainty of algebra, or Team Cauchy, with the honest uncertainty of limits? Leave your answer in the comments. It might just become the next topic we dig into.